I was recently talking with a friend and she was asking, how do I follow up on an action item without seeming like I'm micromanaging somebody? This is an excellent question, especially if you are working remote and you're doing the virtual thing. It's very difficult to follow up on action items. And like we've been talking about, now that we're in a virtual workplace, the old way of doing things we need to throw out the window. So the new way of doing things and following up on those action items is making sure first that you're being very, very clear about what you need and want from people. The second thing is giving deadlines. So saying these are the pieces that need to be done on this day. The third part is making sure that you are sending that in a written form and you're talking about it. You have to do both because our brains, sometimes they're really great, but they don't always remember everything. And the challenge right now is that everybody is like, the water is kind of like here. We've gotten so used to, like, I think the stress of our sort of like mostly not COVID, but still kind of COVID world that is very difficult to like completely cast that off. We haven't. We've just sort of like become immune to it, but it still very much like impacts us. That like sort of underlying current of stress. So you need to remember that when you're talking to people, like talking about it is great, but then you need to follow up with an email or vice versa. It's great to send an email, but then you also need to follow up with a phone call or a video call or something like that. Over communication right now is better than just assuming, because remember what happens when we assume things, right? I love the word assume so much. You make an ass out of you and me. Yep, don't assume. Okay, so we are going to follow up on action items by sending both, like telling people what our deadlines are and then also emailing them. And then the final piece is that you just have to hold people accountable. And sometimes this is going to take a little while for people to get used to it, especially if you haven't been holding people accountable lately. But you have to like follow up on the day that something is due and say, like, hey, do you remember that project piece that you were supposed to do? Like, tell me about where it's at today. Um, because that's the only way that you're going to get things done is if you are sort of like in that constant communication, in that constant collaboration, and sort of also you being the one making it clear that like you're not going to drop the ball, that the other person needs to be stepping up their game and doing things as well. And if the piece didn't get done, then say, okay, well, that's all right, but like, when is it going to get done? Or maybe it's really not okay. And then you say, like, hey, how can we make sure that this doesn't happen for the rest of the pieces in the project you need to do? Because, like, here's why we have these deadlines. Telling people why you're asking them to do anything is huge in making sure that it actually happens. Okay, so that was just like super brief. If you are interested in more information similar to this, check out our live webinar that's happening later on this month. And then also, if you miss it, make sure to check out or consider checking out the Bright Manager Circle, which is a place that you can get all of these kinds of webinars archived in one spot that you can just get on demand, trusted information that you know will help you and that you don't have to like do the Google thing to try to figure out if it's actually helpful information. All right, remember, times are weird, but you have everything inside of you that you need in order to make this happen. You just have to remember to take a deep breath and you will figure it out. I promise. All right, keep rocking, and I look forward to connecting with you back here soon.